What's going on, everybody? We are
What is
live.
going on?
You want to take
Couple
it away?
minutes late, but we are here. Welcome to the new year. Is it the new you?
I don't know. Is
So
it?
this is going to be the first ever episode of this new segment, the mindset of fitness. Uh, I've been around for a little bit, so you might recognize exercise, and this is going to be my partner as we go along, Ryan.
What's
So
up,
Ryan,
guys?
I think maybe the first thing that we need to do here is just kind of like introduce ourselves. I think if you've been around long enough, you might have actually seen an intro from me. So maybe there's an Easter egg out there somewhere for you. If not, we're going to do it again right here anyways. So let's
What's
start
up?
with you, Ryan. I'm Mike's off, so let's go with the good-looking guy on cam. And I want to to hear a little bit about Ryan.
Yeah. I'll keep it quick for you guys. It's pretty easy to find me and what I'm about. So I don't mind doxing myself. That is my real name. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and all the groups I manage. But basically, I've been talking to people about the mindset of nutrition and effective weight loss here in America and countries abroad, from a sustainable level through data analytics, charting, and communication for the past 7 years. I've done this from a corporate level as well as individual level. And I've recently been all in on hacks, as a lot of you guys have been for since like this past summer. So I'm not like a super duper hex OG, but I was a no coiner and made my way in, as we all do, once we get on board with Wales and Kareem and obviously Richard and all those guys. And then once you realize the hex community and the mentality and mindset of hex and the financial product it is, it's a pretty easy bridge to jump to. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I'm doing. And we're really excited to bring you guys this show because, of course, Hacks is about delayed gratification. We also need to be healthy and happy in a way that's sustainable, especially in the current culture and environment for at least 15 years. Let's be honest, hopefully longer, right? So being able to do that in a way that makes sense versus screaming at people to be active and be healthy with your food choices, we need to get into some of those conversations because it's definitely unique times right now after COVID, post lockdown, et cetera. Culture has changed. The game has changed. What worked in the past really wasn't working well, and what's working or what wasn't working then is definitely not working now. So I'm really excited to come on the show, give you guys my insight, and for us to answer any questions. We got a lot of great episode lists and topics to go over. I think are going to really be exciting and be interesting and unique discourse in a space that so badly needs it. So expect a very refreshing take from us too on that.
Hell yeah, man. Um, I'll give you guys a quick rundown for me as well. Some of you might have noticed I tried uh, and and failed quite recently with some streams, but was lucky enough to get this little segment going with Ryan and Discourse Syndicate. And that is one of the things that I crave and really enjoy doing is just soundboarding ideas and going back and forth over some of these topics, especially in and around health and fitness. So way back in the day as Hex was launching, I also had an idea to try to create a community, but that also kind of fizzled out. And this idea has kind of, or this opportunity again has presented itself to Ryan and I think both of us are, yeah, really excited to just offer resources, discourse, and some really, really informed perspectives and opinions on a lot of there is so much, there's so much content within health and fitness, it's insane. So Ryan offers a extremely unique perspective that I think we're going to end up uh, tag teaming really, really well. So my background, I did like a traditional route through school. I did a bachelor's followed by a master's, and then I ended up instructing at a university. So some of my specialty is in some of the more like hardcore physiology stuff. So a lot of the muscle and training adaptation. And then in addition to that, lots of the literature reviews. I conducted a research thesis. So between the two of us, I think we provide an extremely uh, thorough like breadth of knowledge that encompasses a lot of the area. Ryan himself has worked with a ton of individuals, as he mentioned. So he has a lot of experience that I lack, whereas I have more of a macro top-down view of the fitness space and kind of like the problem as we see it. And I, yeah, would like to welcome all basically any take or any idea that you might have to bring it here and we'll talk about it. I think you're going to be surprised that we're going to probably affirm a lot of things that people will shut down and have a more moderate take on it, perhaps. So
For sure. Yeah, just
I
a heads
think,
up too. So the group on Facebook I manage, it's mostly 30 to 60-year-old females, but has around like 50 to 60,000 people in it that has to do with learning how to do sustainable dieting practices. There is no dumb question, guys. So if you guys or girls, ladies, everybody included, obviously, have questions about things, because you're going to hear some of these topics. And like I said, it's going to be some taboo stuff, but it's stuff that makes sense, right? We're living in 2022. We have a Starbucks down the street, not a farm, right? So we need to be able to be effective and make these things work. And of course, as Hexicans, we like data, we like charting, we like analytics. When you have the science and the math to support what's going on, it gets a lot more exciting, right? Because it gives you the path and vision to the future. So definitely be interactive, ask things as we go over stuff. I know me and Exercise are talking about making this first episode kind of like a more Q&A based, as well as really homing into the first topic as everybody kind of like kicks off the new year with the resolutions and then, the kind of hamster wheel stuff that comes around, but really just focusing this episode on consistency and adherence is really the most important things when it comes to any sort of nutritional practice, right? In terms of the most effective diet really being the one you can stick to. And that's going to be a big part of the topic today. So we have a lot of like individual things we want to go over. I'll let Exercise take it from here. But feel free to put questions in there. And I think Exercise can bring them up. We can answer anything you guys got.
yeah. So the first thing I kind of had on the list to talk with you and I guess everyone here in chat about is kind of what we want to do with this segment or with this stream. So currently it's called the mindset of fitness, and we went back and forth on exactly what we want to call it, but ultimately we decided that's not really going to matter because it's going to take shape from you, the community, as well as there's going to be very, very specific content or specific ideas that we want to try and cover each and every week. So there's going to be like some content that we really want to go through to help with education, and then really just field some questions and go back and forth talking through some of these ideas that you might have or what you might want to be implement or what you might already be implementing into your daily lives, whether it's fitness, nutrition, or anything that really touches these ideas as a whole. So the mindset of fitness, Ryan has a much more in-depth look at the kind of like the mindset psychology aspect of it. Whereas I think some of the valuable things we can offer are those weekly topics and educations, some check-ins, a place where you can come and we're just going to remind you like week over week that to check in with yourself, check in with us. And like Ryan said, we are very moderate in our approach and we're going to preach adherence and sustainability. So if you want to come in the first 5 minutes and talk about how your week went, if it went super bad, that's all right. You can kick yourself in the butt a little bit, but there's no sense in throwing yourself off the track here, right?
I love
In
these
fit,
comments. Cold
yeah,
showers up and to the right.
yeah. In health and fitness, there seems to be some uh, idealization of perfection, and if you don't hit every single meal, and if you don't hit every single workout, that holy smokes, you need to that you're off the wagon or you're off the train. That's not what this is. Not an all or nothing pursuit. This is your life, right? We've got 5, 5, 5, 5. We've got over 15 years to look at here. And if you miss one day or one week, zoom out just like you do with your chart. It's okay. And just get back on the horse. So that's our, I think, kind of like underlying mantra and motto is to be sustainable and adherable. So inside the mindset of fitness, that's, I think, our underlying philosophy. The both of us, we overlap really, really well. Is there anything in particular that you want to address? I think Ryan also has a unique perspective here as he's more psychologically uh, driven and into the nutrition aspect of things.
Yeah. I mean, we're already getting some good comments, some good, I mean, this is going to be a juicy stream. And yes, it will be a weekly stream. There's going to be so much stuff to cover because to be transparent, guys, we want Hex, obviously, we know it's the best community, but we want it to be the best community in all assets. If we have Hex, the only crypto community that is delivering the most effective, sustainable, but also backed by peer-reviewed analysis studies showing that this stuff makes sense, right? You have a community that's eating pizza, losing weight, doing so in a sustainable manner, as well as having a chart that goes up to the right. You can't really beat that. because that's probably the one thing the crypto audience is lacking is really perseverance of overall health, and that's a big deal. So yeah, this will be a weekly stream. We're definitely open to suggestions on things you want to talk about. But we could literally make this go on forever and ever and ever. Yeah, if you want to pull up some comments, you can. I already see a few good ones in here. But yeah,
Yeah.
sustainability and consistency is going to be a big deal. I can't emphasize enough. Whenever I have people that are on paleo or they're on whole grain diets or they're on this or that, I have a wife that'll switch from keto back to, vegetarian, or the husband can't do it. So he's back to some sort of steak or meat diet, maybe it's paleo. The point being is whatever you can stick to is going to work, right? In terms of losing weight, gaining weight, etc. We go back to the energy basics, energy balance. Are you in an energy surplus, energy deficit? We're going to lose weight or gain weight. The beauty is when you talk to the average person, and for now I'm going to mention America. I do have a lot of clients overseas, but when you talk to the average American, my first group of people I work with were truck drivers, and they had 40 years of bad habits, and they ate Wendy's every day. I can't tell that guy who's had 40 years of bad habits and granted him to go eat 3 healthy meals and then go get freaking jacked at the gym. He's going to slap me, never talk to me again. So you lost that person. You
Yeah.
lost your audience, the product fit, the market fit, it ain't there. So when I show him how he can track calories on a nutrition calculator through the Wendy's website and through charting, analytics, and communication, he loses 20 to 40 pounds with Wendy's. Maybe not the most ideal thing, but we keep him, right? You keep him. He drops all of his BMI, his blood pressure, et cetera. These metrics come down. And then on his own accord, because his mindset shifts, just like Hex does with the mindset of finance as the product it is, he then makes his own healthier choices in the future. So we're really going back to the sustainability thing here is the most important start point, because when you really get down to it, when it comes to people doing this, it's not easy. And it's the order of operations in which we target a very complex problem that allows us to help come up with solutions that make sense. So a lot of this is not going to be bro science stuff. It's not going to be go eat your protein powder and go to the gym and get jacked. That's great, but this is a small subset of people that are out there doing that. And it's very overwhelming. Honestly, 99% of people don't even need to go to the gym more than once or twice a week. I hate to burst that bubble, but when you have nutrition, which is really 80% of the things, you don't need to waste your time going there 7 days a week unless you're really trying to be a professional bodybuilder, which I can assure you majority of people going to, LA Fitness, wherever, are not professional bodybuilders. Not that it's a bad thing. I'm not hating on it. I do it myself, but it's just, you don't want to lose people with this stuff, and everybody's starting at their own point. So we definitely appreciate questions or, kind of some of the startup strategies that people are using, or if you have questions at all for us as we progress through this stuff.
Yeah, man. I just met Ryan, I would say a month ago. He reached out just out of the blue on Telegram, and we just had a call one day, and we went back and forth, and there isn't a single thing that I think, a single roadblock that him and I have hit together where I'm like, whoa, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? That is bananas. So he is extremely well versed and extremely based in, I think, every take that I've seen him have. So I think, yeah, we are extremely lucky to have him in this community and have all of the experience that he has working with individuals. I have, again, like I've got this macro, like traditional education background, so I can go give you guys the evidence or some literature or some stats and stuff like that. But a lot of like the uh, individual take and like the programming is going to be hugely uh, dependent over here on Ryan. He's got invaluable experience. The other thing I wanted to mention that we talked about a lot as we were talking about setting up this segment or show is the Hex community in general and how they are kind of they are naturally aligned with a lot of the beliefs and values that we talk about and that we want to purvey in order to create a sustainable health and fitness approach. uh, your idea and your conceptualization of the finance world was kind of put on its, not necessarily put on its head. I guess it depends where you were and who you are and where you came from. But being introduced to the hex system kind of made you look at it a different way. And I would say even crypto as a whole, if you are inclined to be in this crypto space at all, you probably have a different view or a more I would say I'm going to use red pilled as my word, a red pilled view of like the finance or traditional finance and how to go about things. And we've found that the community is going to have, we think, an extremely uh, high uptake to these ideas and these mechanisms that we're going to take you through to ultimately give you the tools and education where you can conduct your life how you want and get healthier each and every day, whether it's like Ryan said, going to the gym once or twice a week, or if you want to go 5 to 7 times a week, you go 5 to 7 times a week. but ultimately there will be like the information and the tools available that you can use to get healthier every single day, which is going to lead to benefits in all aspects of your life. So I think that is like the main end goal of the show is to give you those tools. We want to be a resource. One of the big things back in the day when I joined Twitter is I noticed like every single person in the health and fitness community is trying to sell something. We're
Mm,
we're not going to try and sell you shit. If
mm,
you like, I'm not here to sell you anything. If you
mm.
like vegan stuff or keto, I don't have a keto supplement for you. I don't have a 6-minute ab program for you. I don't have any of that stuff. If you want to talk about keto, I'll talk about it all. But we are here to try to break down a lot of the dogmatic approach that's kind of natural in the fitness community. And yeah, and we do believe that the hex community itself it is equipped with some of these tools to really take on a lot of these ideas, a lot of these beliefs and values in a really quick and sustainable and long-term way. Like we said, if you're 5 4 of them, 15 plus years, you you want to be ready. You want to have some fun when those come out. So and
Yeah.
you can. There's lots of ways to do it, and that's what we're here to try to help uh purvey and discuss. This is Discourse Syndicate. So if you have some ideas that you want to talk about that might seem contrarian, might seem fringe, we're going to talk about those because
Yeah, there's
they're
gonna be some heated combos in this channel.
oh yeah,
Not the channel,
shit
the specific stream. There's gonna be some
shit
heated
chat.
combos. Um, I will say after, my previous company was a corporate-based health and wellness company. We had some really cool partnerships with some decently large organizations, and we had a doctor and a dietitian on staff. And what I'll say is this, and this if this doesn't tell you like my progressive stance on things, I don't know what will, but doctors and dietitians, they're not quite what's needed right now to fix what's going on, in my opinion, because we have obviously a pretty strong obesity problem going on in a number of different countries, but especially the US. And right now we have a very reactionary based approach, right, with the hospital care network. And honestly, there's just not enough dietitians, and they don't do, in my opinion, quite enough to really help people with the psychological, because that's where the real issue is, right? And what we're coming at you guys with is a more preventative based approach, right? We're preventing the pre-diabetes to become diabetes, right? We're preventing high blood pressure, we're preventing all these things from happening, because at that point it's kind of too late. And of course, once again, you got to get people excited to do this stuff. Like Hex is fun, it's exciting at the onset, right? If you sit through a whale stream, you can get excited about Hex. And the point being is, when you show someone a diet that works for them and is sustainable because they want to do paleo, or because they want to do keto, or because they can only eat one meal a day instead of 6 small meals, or because they have to have, their Starbucks caramel macchiato at the end of the day every day for whatever reason, right? Most people I work with have, like I said, a decade to 4 decades of crazily bad experiences underneath their belt. You can't hit them with go do this diet. It just ain't going to work. You're going to lose that person forever. Done. And they're probably going to have a bad experience with said diet, even if they get short-term results. And then they're likely never to revisit it again. So it's important to know that when you talk about specific diets, it's all within the realm of adherence. If someone can adhere to keto, it doesn't matter. They're not going to do it for more than probably a few months. The rest of your life is a lot longer than a few months. It don't matter. I'd rather take a diet that's filled with inconsistencies in terms of overall health and have long-term sustainability. And I can show you which person is going to perform better versus the person that's perfect for 3 months on a perfectly healthy diet and then F's off the rest of the life, because that's typically what goes down. And let's be honest, if you can cut out soda, if you can cut out fast food and all these things super fast and keep it that way forever, great. But you're in such a small subset of the population that's willing to remove yourselves from a social atmosphere in America specifically and culturally that is very difficult to remove yourselves from. It's just not going to happen typically. You're removing alcohol, you're going to the Hex conference and you're removing yourself from alcohol. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Hell no.
Probably be difficult. Like I probably won't. I'm going to work it in. So
Yep.
you guys are going to see a lot of really cool topics on this channel that have to do with understanding adherence, sustainability, how to create something that's going to be sustainable, how to track it and chart it so the numbers make sense, understanding weight loss, the pacing of it, metabolic adaptation, how to build metabolisms, all this cool stuff. And no keto supplements, none of that nonsense. Nothing against keto.
Click
Nothing against keto.
click
It's
my
easy to hate
link.
on though.
Yeah, man.
We have a lot of funny comments already, man. I'm like trying not to laugh while you're talking.
Yeah.
Seeing some of these.
Yeah.
Pay
So
my
we'll
way. David says, I hope I can pay my way to good health. Brother, that's not working well right now. The healthcare system is probably close to collapsing. We cannot rely on it. Think about the wait times. I mean, most of my clients right now are in urgent care. They work in urgent care or they're RNs working in hospitals. How ironic is that? 30% of my clientele are working in hospitals, and I get insight from multiple states, multiple hospitals. And the system, I mean, right now, urgent care is probably a 6 to 8 hour wait time. I had a client who got in a car accident and she had to wait 6 to 8 hours to be seen from a car accident. So, and that's with what's going on right now, COVID and stuff. So, I mean, there could be something different that comes next year. I mean, we don't know. I mean, the precedent's kind of been set. So, I would not rely on money. You know, that's the most beautiful thing with hacks is it gives you the financial future, but you need to be around to influence other people when you then have your financial freedom, which is important. You know,
Yes, sir. Financial health is great, but if you don't have your health, you're in trouble. I would completely agree. I just wanted to, yeah, echo Ryan a bit when he was talking about doctors and dietitians, and that they do have a place in
$100%.
in the West for sure. What it has turned into, it's turned into more of emergent care. So there was somebody here that just said emergency care has nothing to do with health. And obviously, like our
Yeah,
emergency care
100%.
system is amazing, but there is so much to do on the preventative side of things. And I think uh, Captain had he brought on a new doctor who's really focused on the preventative side, who might end up being a guest on the show. Um, so that's another thing that
Yeah.
we are really big about. We do not want to have to use that emergency. Like we do have definitely the best healthcare in the world, but it is so centered around being reactionary that it's kind of the fault of the circumstance, I guess. Right? That is the way things are trending. So there definitely is a great place for doctors. There's a great place for dietitians. It just looks like if we want to take that next step in like having true longevity with the tools we currently have, a preventative approach is going to be much more valuable than a reactionary one. That's a lagging indicator. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to talk about, I guess, is like one of the problems that like it's been identified. We've all identified it very obviously is that you need to, and you've probably heard it, you need to eat less and move more. Well, that's one of the old adages, and Ryan and I are going to try to take a different approach than everybody else. And I think a lot of a lot of the good people in health and fitness end up getting siphoned over somewhere where they're trying to use you as a click or as a sale. So I think that's going to be a really unique approach that we have. Like we are lucky enough to be in this position where we just get to come on and have this stream and talk to you about health and fitness and also provide a lot of information and education, hopefully. And you can hold us to that. I'm not going to sell you shit at the end of this stream. I remember when I first got into the health and fitness industry, I went to college on a golf scholarship, and I was pretty broy back in the day. I wanted to go to I wanted to do 2 days in the gym. I wanted to have abs and all that. And I remember when I first started watching YouTube streams and like reading like muscle and fitness articles and stuff like that. I can vividly remember like being on a page, you know, like those really shitty pages where you have to scroll forever. Like they've got, don't worry, we'll tell you how we get our abs on the next page. I remember scrolling for like 8 pages and they're like, okay, $30 and we'll tell you the secret on how to get six-pack abs. But I was too broke to pay for it. So I'm like, well, fuck, how am I going to get these six-pack abs? And it's that just seems to be where all of the talent ends up going in the fitness industry is because that is where the money is. That is where it is. Um, so the big problem that you and me and everyone has heard preached over and over and over again is that we have an obesity or an activity uh, epidemic. People are not moving anywhere near as much as they used to be moving. Um, so back in the day, I just wanted to pull up really quick. Now, I do not want to put you guys to sleep. I am an instructor, so make fun of me all you will. These are actual slides from an actual PowerPoint. This is one of the things that I know how to do. So back in the day, when I did my thesis, when I did my research, I was really interested in the exercise prescription. Again, like I said, I was a bro at one point, and initially I went to my thesis chair, and I told him I wanted to do my research on calf training. So I'm not sure if any of you other guys are bros, but some lots of men who are in the bodybuilding or the fitness industry have trouble building their calves, and I just happen to be one of those. So I thought it would be valuable to the fitness industry to do a goddamn research study on calf training, on how to get bigger calves. That was a really good idea to
That's
me.
amazing.
Yeah, when I look back on that meeting that I had with them, it's pretty funny. Um, the one other thing I was interested on in the background was what we are telling, like kind of like what the doctors and the dietitians are prescribing to people today. So when you walk into a doctor's office, like doctors again, they definitely have a place. They're amazing at what they do. But when it comes to stuff like training and nutrition, it's a pretty brief portion of their training. So they kind of just like go back to basics and they give you what the recommendation is. Whether and in USA, most of that is the American College of Sports Medicine, ACSM. So one of the things that hit home with me was my father, when I was in my program, he had a heart attack. It was pretty minor, uh, thankfully, and everything went well. He recovered amazingly. But one of the things that happened is he was prescribed or he was recommended an exercise program. And those recommendations, so back in the, I'm just going to flip through a couple slides to those recommendations. Those recommendations are 5 days a week of cardio and 2 to 3 days per week of lifting. Now, for my dad was a chef and then he worked on a farm. So he definitely got a decent amount of physical activity. But to go from not going to the gym to all of a sudden you were being told to go 5 days per week of cardio and 2 to 3 days per week, well, if you add like these, the higher end adds up to more than 7 days per week. It's like our health professionals are prescribing like things that are crazy and like absolutely unadherable, unsustainable, but it is relevant and good information. They just don't really have the time or like the, I guess, like the context necessary to apply it in a preventative stance. They are in the situation they're in, and it just happens to be reactionary, which is unfortunate. So the big problem back in the day when I did this was in 2017, is that some of our big killers are directly related to lifestyle, that being physical activity and nutrition. So we could even put a question mark around cancer. We could put a question mark around uh, Alzheimer's. We could put a question mark around kidney disease. We could put a question mark over all of these, but for sure, the three that are highlighted. This is data from 2014. If we look at 2019's data, nothing has changed. We've known this for forever,
Yeah, it's
right?
going up and to the right like Hex, but for the wrong reasons.
This is going, yeah, up and to the right. So like health professionals or like the traditional sources like the ACSM, like the CDC, put out these things like, hey, if you do cardio 5 days per week, it's a good idea. If you lift 2 to 3 days per week, it's a good idea. And of course, that's a good idea. Neither of us are going to preach against that. We're just going to say that does not have to be the case. You can live the life you want to live and you can live a healthy life you want to live in a lot of different ways. It does not have to be these specific guidelines that I think a lot of people get trapped into. All of a sudden, you pay a trainer and they've got you on a meal plan and a workout program of 5 days per week, and you miss a day, and it's it's a killer for a lot of people. That is not what it needs to be about. It just needs to be about meeting some targets over a long period of time. Zoom out, right? If you had a bad day, if we're in a dip, zoom out. So again, this is just another quick little infographic. The trend that we are moving up and to the right, it is not a secret. This is a huge problem, and we're hoping that like we don't have any bad incentives at the moment. Buy my supplements, that we can provide some sort of place for you to come and just like and talk about these things and give us your ideas, maybe what you're working with. If you want resources outside of the stream, uh,
Yeah.
Ryan trains people professionally. I will offer up, if you want to DM me at any time, I'll go back and forth with you. If I'm on my computer, I'll hop on a call with you and just shoot the shit and talk about what's working, what's not working, and what might be some areas for growth. Because if you just look, the information is available to say, hey, 5 days of cardio, 2 days of resistance training, and your health metrics go up. But nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing it. And that's okay. I don't want to be in the gym 7 days per week. I don't think most people want to be. I don't think most people should be in the gym 7 days per week. So there are other ways to go about this, and especially as you learn some of the different big uh, talking points that we're going to go through in the upcoming episodes, you will have like the actual understanding and the mechanism to train yourself and to keep yourself at a healthy weight and in a healthy state for the rest of your life, whether it's meeting these recommendations or not. Yeah, so the last one that I do want to talk about that might be a little bit unbeknownst to people is that the sedentary uh, lifestyle that we've transitioned to, so that's like the remote working, the online working, even if you're meeting the physical activity guidelines, sedentary bouts are deleterious to health outcomes. So if you're that's something to be aware of, and we'll talk a lot more about data stuff in different episodes at different topics. So I am done with the slides. The slides are coming off the screen. Hopefully we didn't lose that many viewers. We're I think we're
I
we're
enjoyed it.
both we're both really really passionate about this stuff and love talking about anything and anything that kind of even touches on the web of content inside of the health and fitness world. So that's kind of like my take on the problem. And then yeah, Ryan has an unknown amount of hours talking to people day in and day out about the individual kind of identification and relationship with health and fitness and nutrition especially.
Yeah. I mean, dude, think about it, man. We have, doctors and dietitians been screaming from the rooftops for decades now to go eat and be healthy, go eat healthy and be active rather. And it's like, y'all, people know this. They're still
Yeah.
not doing it. So like, come on. The order of operations for which we have to tackle this problem has to be unique and clever. It's a complex problem. Multiple layers to this, right? You got infrastructural issues, you have family life issues, you have the lockdown now playing its role, you have the supporting small business and eating out with a higher nutrition count causing issues during the lockdown, you have the lower activity levels causing issues, you have just the cultural peer pressure causing issues, right? And you have all these things coming together. You can't just scream at people to eat healthy and be active, whether it's 20 times a week you go into the gym or 0 times. Honestly, 99% of the people I work with don't ever touch the gym. They go on walks, they go on hikes, they do just normal people shit. They really do. And the beautiful thing is people get really pissed off when they see my clients who are in their 40s and 50s potentially having a six pack because that's just what they want or their preference. And my friends who are in their 30s just still can't get with the program, because they're thinking that there's some magic sorcery going on. It's like, no, man, just follow the chart. Like, heck, just look at the chart. It's pretty simple. When you learn the order of operations on how to, start, because starting is honestly the most difficult part in this game. I think someone made a comment about, you're the average of what you do over the 10 to 15 day period. And you're right. So the key is to start with something that's sustainable because that average will serve you very well over time. Everybody's zooming in on the day to day on hacks. Like, guys, zoom out, look at what this thing has done on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, chill. Like, you're going to be okay. Don't rush at all. We operate on a perfectionist mindset when it comes to nutrition or working out, when really you should, really be in the same wavelength as we do our professional careers and our relationships. And those are very up and down. We already operate on that wavelength with our finances, our professional careers, and our relationships. We just need to bridge that over the nutrition, but without mentorship, without data analytics, understanding how the stuff operates, yeah, you're kind of in a dark room and you don't know what to do. And heaven forbid shit doesn't go your direction and you stop losing weight or whatever. You don't really know how to make an informed decision to move forward. There's no hex chart to pull up to know what the next step is. So things get very frustrating. I tell people it's like working a job and not getting a paycheck. That's what most people are doing right now, going to the gym and looking the exact same way. I think everybody's fallen into that category at some point, myself included. But when you go there and you have the facts, knowing that you're making progress definitively week to week in some capacity, it's like you're getting paid every week. It feels good. Of course, you're going to keep doing it. Why would you stop? It's only a matter of time before you get to where you want to go. So that's the beautiful thing, man. So understanding some of these, it's kind of like what Richard says about re-educating people in the crypto space in order to have a more nuanced conversation that makes sense. We have to almost go in and not to slay anybody, but just almost re-educate on so many myths and just what decades in the making of misinformation in the industry has done to make people perplexed. Oh, you can't eat after 9 o'clock at night. Oh, you got to go to the gym to actually look that way. Oh, you got to do this with the amount of protein intake. Oh, it's got to be whole grain. Oh, it's got to be this. It's got to be that. There's too much noise. There's too much bullshit. You got to remove a lot of that stuff. Once you remove it, it gives you clarity and allows you to make informed decisions, right? Like with Wales and his 2 hour long streams, he just removes the noise, right? All the noise just dissipates and you can make an informed decision how to move forward. And it becomes very easy to go all in, man. And it feels good because you're getting paid for it. Maybe not with the T-share in this case, but with
Yeah.
your overall health, which you need that to actually see what these T-shares are going to do. So, it's a beautiful thing. It really is, because everybody's their own unique puzzle. What works for you absolutely will not work for your wife, likely,
Yeah.
for example. And that's okay. And likely your food preferences will change, your work life will change, all these things will change. It's our ability to adapt with these cultural changes, etc. Like when COVID hit, you could tell who didn't know what they were doing with nutrition, because everybody who relied on activity levels and the gym shut down, it's like, oh shit, what do we do? The whole world was injured essentially for like a year almost, depending on the country or your state of where you're living. So the point is you have to assume that activity levels, not that they're not important, they're amazing, and I do them all the time, and we'll dive into them quite a bit, but they're very transitory. So don't hold yourself to the perfectionist mindset, especially with activity levels, man, because when you're in the hospital bed and you're 70, 80, you're still eating food, man. That's all that matters, not the gym. It's a great tool, but so understanding some of these things are going to be kind of like, not really, I'll call it what it is, re-educating people so you can have a more clear focus of why we're talking about the things we're talking about.
Yeah, man. You also touched on what is one of the biggest barriers to entry and then staying in the health and fitness game, and that is the delayed gratification of seeing actual results. Your analogy I never heard before, but I really, really like it, is going to a job and not cashing a check. That is a perfect analogy for it. And this is one of the reasons that we've talked about that we think the hex community is going to be so, uh, like, again, naturally aligned with what this like mechanism and this style that we're going to preach is that if you're Quattro Cinco, you are employing delayed gratification right now.
Yeah.
In this society of instant gratification, you could be on a program for a month and have nothing change. That sucks. That sucks, but again, if you zoom out and maintain and stick to the process, you will see results. The nice thing about crypto and getting into Hex is Hex has a pretty good hook because it can go up 100% in a day. That's pretty nice. If you see your money double in a day, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good hook for a lot of people.
I don't know if
Where,
I'd be able to do it with health though. Can you imagine just be like ripped
well,
for a couple of months and there's
yeah,
like
it
an
doesn't happen,
80%
right?
retracement and you're like, oh shit, here we go again. I'm at 40% body fat. Could
Yeah,
you imagine that?
exactly.
I don't know if I could do that, man.
Yeah, it
Oh,
doesn't happen, and that's what makes I think makes sticking to the program or sticking to whatever lifestyle it is you want to stick to is a little bit harder because that hook isn't quite as sharp. You don't get the 2x or the 3x in a month. You're going to get incremental gains over a long, long period of time. And if you stick to that, half a percent better per day or per week or even per month over a lifetime is crazy. If you've read any of like the habit books or something, like lots of them talk about this idea. It's really hard to conceptualize when you're in it and if you haven't quite done it yet. And again, this is what like lots of these different ideas just like end up overlapping with some of the ideals and a lot of the mechanisms involved in the hex system. And that's delaying gratification for a bigger payout. If you stake longer, you earn more. If you stake bigger, you earn more. It's a very, very similar concept here where we're looking at a long term view and trying to increase incrementally over time and really, really committing to that process. So yeah,
yeah.
I really liked that analogy you made when you mentioned working without getting a check sucks.
Oh yeah, bro. I mean, think about everybody in America going to the gym now or whenever, and they're just like not seeing any changes. No data
Yeah,
analytics, nothing. Weigh themselves once every 2, 3 months. I mean, dude, I could have a client, guy or girl, and then let's just say it was a guy, right? Keep it simpler. Let's just say he had a higher sodium meal the night prior because he's doing like some higher sodium chicken or something like that. He was
yeah,
really stressed out. He weighed in 2 to 3 hours earlier because he was on a different work shift,
yeah,
and he had a lot. He had a bigger meal at the end of the night. All those things can influence the scale to go up 2 to 4 pounds in a day, right? You
Yeah.
have a lot of swing weight that goes into things. We're not going to get too into data analytics now and understanding how weight loss moves and flows. But just like with the Staker app, it is nice seeing the changes day to day. So having data analytics to see those weekly paychecks or daily paychecks, understanding why things are moving and when things are structurally in a good spot, like on a chart, it's a really powerful thing too, because it's tough to ask somebody to be patient, let alone in crypto, but let alone with your health, man. It's difficult here in America. You go out to get some beers with your friends and, it's a holiday. I mean, we just went through a shit show, right? One
Yep.
full week dedicated to Christmas, another full week
Yep.
dedicated to New Year's. Like if you didn't, and this is getting a little technical, but if you didn't do a reverse diet, knowing that you were eating around 25 to 2,700 calories a day without gaining weight going into the holiday season this year, it was likely you gain weight because that's the facts. To live in America, and I could say this probably about Germany and a bunch of other countries I have clients in, you need to have a metabolism that can handle a bank account, if you will, that can handle calorie intakes around 23 to 2,700 calories a day on average. That's the reality. Culture has shifted, right? We're not in the 90s anymore. We're having 3 home cooked meals prepared by the mom or whoever. And that's it, based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Ha ha ha, right? From the FDA.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shit doesn't fly anymore. Like that's not it. That's not reality. You go to Starbucks, double, triple, quadruple caramel macchiato supreme, and it's like 600 calories. It's like, bro, that's almost half that person's daily recommended calorie intake in a drink.
Yeah.
That is the reality. We don't have mentorship. There's nothing in the school systems. And I also have another friend who's doing a not-for-profit in New York State for school systems to help people out with mentorship in this area because, yeah, the kids are also in a rough spot. Obesity is growing in the kids too. It's like, we can have a tough time having this conversation with adults. It's great because there's a lot of emotions that flow when it comes to nutrition, but you can't be pissed off about the kids, man. Come on. The kids are having issues with this. We need to have a transparent conversation. If a kid can be trusted with an iPhone 13 and they're playing Fortnite, swearing at people at 12 years old, they can be trusted with MyFitnessPal to learn how to track an Apple or a Wendy's meal. So that way they can manage their weight. So that's
Yes,
outside of the
sir.
scope. But yeah, man, when you don't see a paycheck, you don't get excited. Just like Hex, man. If you don't see things going on and you can't get involved with the clarity of the data, it's almost like you're leaving responsibility off the table. It's like you can't trust people with their own stuff. Like, no, with my clients, they all have access to their own health charts. They're in it every day. We're talking about how it operates, and we're actually excited to show you guys in a future stream the health chart I'm talking about and how to use data analytics. And for obvious reasons, we thought you guys would like that. To understand why things are happening. When you understand how the data moves and flows with weight loss or weight gain or maintenance or trying to whatever you're doing, it's easy to make informed decisions on how to move forward. But without that, you're kind of running blind. It gets very frustrating when you don't know what's going on. So it's really, really, really exciting stuff, man. It's really exciting stuff. We have a lot of great content to bring you guys. And like, we're going to keep saying this back and back again. We're here to make the Hexagon community. It's already the best. We know this. But we're here to make it the most healthy because it needs to be around. It's fighting the good fight in the industry. Richard Hart is, and who knows? Anything can happen to any of these people. We need to be as healthy and as honestly clear thinking as we were to get into hacks and to continue to do so, including myself. So yeah, it's exciting stuff, guys. We got a lot of really cool stuff to bring to you.
Yeah, man. Just quickly going to mention here, guys. I think we're going to definitely dedicate some stuff to some time to Q&A at the end. So if there were some comments or some questions that we miss here, we are trying to just like go through a few talking points first. So if you do have a question we missed, please make sure to ask that again. So from Marco the Hexacan, we got 20 smackers, hexagons and pulsicans need.
That's our first donation ever from a
Hell
Hex
yeah,
OG, nonetheless.
hell yeah, brother.
Yo,
Need
pull
these
up
types
pull
of
up this comment real quick
conversations.
from John S. I
Sure.
gotta respond to that.
Keep this up. I need to get back in shape too. Nice job, fellas. Help save your fellow community health and wealth. Marco, thanks so much, dude. First official super chat, first dono. Love it. Quick mention, I definitely saw your quick clip there from the Hex conference, and it was
I did too.
beautifully said. Very, very touching. Which one do you want me to pull up there?
The one from John S. about
John.
AOL MySpace.
Counting calories is like AOL MySpace. Intermittent fasting is the easiest and most effective way. We need to stop complicating it.
So this is, and I'm not trying to rag on John here, but this is exactly the kind of stuff that's gonna continue the problem to get worse. For example, when he says counting calories is like AOL MySpace, there's nothing that is similar to counting calories. Counting calories is like arguing that numbers aren't numbers. It's just numbers. It's just data, right? The energy balance equation is always going to be there. So whether you count calories or do intermittent fasting, I have plenty of clients who've done intermittent fasting have gained tons of weight. Plenty of people. So if you're losing weight doing intermittent fasting, great. You're in a calorie deficit. You just don't know what you're doing and you don't know that you're in a calorie deficit. And when eventually that calorie deficit will stop, or culturally things change to where the intake you're doing through intermittent fasting is not no longer enough to maintain your weight, the weight will increase, like what we saw with coronavirus. When everybody locked down, they stopped being active in what they're doing initially, which could have been intermittent fasting. It could have been just intuitive eating. It could have been paleo or whatever. All of a sudden they gain weight. We had literally a parabolic up and to the right rise of obesity when activity levels came down and calorie counts went up or stayed the same. The point being is if you don't have awareness and a skill set on how to have awareness on your bank account the same way you do your metabolism, it's only a matter of time before shit could hit the fan. Don't get me wrong. Some people get lucky and they're fine their whole life doing that. And no offense to anybody who wants to do intermittent fasting. It's just for the sake of the example that at the end of the day, that is the most simplest form of understanding this is just understanding energy balance with calories, because that's all it is. Your preference is likely what's going to work best for you in the moment. Because intermittent fasting, man, it may not work for you in 10 years. You don't know that. It could be completely different. Something could happen. You get injured. Like who knows what your work life's going to be like. Hopefully you're retired, right? You're in Hex. So who knows? Maybe you're retired. But once again, I'm not ripping on you. I'm just saying this turns people off from getting started because intermittent fasting can be the most ineffective way for somebody else, depending on their structure, their setup, their previous history. They could have 10 decades or 10 decades. It's a long time, 10 years of bad experiences. And intermittent fasting could have been one of them. Maybe they gained 20 pounds doing it by accident because that happens. So whenever you hear someone say something like, oh, this is the way, if it's not based on the absolute most basic math, like Wells shows with his charts, it's just a lot of clouds that's going to confuse you. So just keep that in mind, because could it be intermittent fasting? Sure. Could all the Hexagons lose weight with intermittent fasting? Sure. Will they all stick to it? Probably not. It's not a slight. It just won't work for people in a lot of cultures. If the culture changes and intermittent fasting works best, I mean, it's like keto, man. We don't live in a culture where everything is zero sugar, right? Everything's got sugar in here in America. If everything was sugar free and there's no carbs or sugar in anything, keto would probably be the dominant choice, or some sort of plant-based, probably, but it ain't. So it's just, we got to hit things like this on the head because we are going to totally remove any nonsense. It's going to be no nonsense, these streams, just like whales. They just can't have any room for this kind of stuff in that capacity in terms of a consistency and adherence. So to your point, exercise, that's what we're bringing it back to, right? Consistency and adherence. So I will challenge you, John S., to think about this a little differently. Stop complicating a methodology that is very simple in nature, but complex in how we implement it. That's where the complexities lie. It's not the numbers. The numbers are simple. This isn't whale stuff that's complicated. This is simple stuff. Calorie counting is simple. All these numbers are simple. It's the psychology of how we implement it in the most sustainable way possible as our life changes. That's where the complexities lie in this process. So that was a good comment, though. I'm glad you brought that up. Once again, I'm not harping on you, man, but it was a good one to bring up and talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about everybody's favorite way to go about it. So, John, I'm gonna guess you enjoy intermittent fasting. I think both of us would say that it's a great approach, with the caveat that if it works for you. I will respectfully disagree with the first part of this statement. Counting calories is like AOL and MySpace. Technically, if you're eating at all, it may not be you, the individual, counting those calories, but your body is. They are being counted. They are being accounted for somewhere. All right. So yeah, I agree with basically everything that Ryan had to say there. It's not a bad way to go about it. I would say the majority of people I know do better tracking as opposed to intermittent fasting. Not that one is better than the other. I think there is a ton of evidence to show that they are very, very similar. There'd be I could find some studies where whichever metric you want to talk about, intermittent fasting might be slightly ahead, or I could find a few studies where being in a calorie deficit because you are quote unquote tracking or counting might be slightly better. So there's so like Ryan said, to totally kibosh or like slight counting calories in this sense is definitely not very productive, because there's going to be a huge population that really enjoys tracking. in general because it is super, super effective.
I mean, think about it. It's like if and keep in mind the majority, all of my clients, the end goal is that they don't have to track anymore. The whole goal is to not be in these stupid tracking apps.
Hmm.
Obviously, you don't want to be at a birthday party scanning barcodes of cake. That's not fun, and you're gonna get just like ridiculed. It's not really what we want to do. But you take someone and you teach them math. You don't start with algebra. You start with basic mathematics.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing here with calorie counting. Totally aside from implementation and what their preferences are.
yeah,
So the point being is, when you start someone there and then you can get them to lose weight with calorie counting or some form of it, the whole goal is to get them to a point where they're at a high enough calorie count to exist in culture, whether that's 2,200 calories a day, 2,700 calories a day. I have some clients on 3,000 calories a day without gaining weight. Then you can just intuitively track because it makes sense to intuitively track at 2,500 calories a day. You can't intuitively track when you're eating like 1,600 a day in America, unless you're like a
hmm,
social outcast. It's not going to fly, not very well.
yeah,
So, I see his comment again about, cite people that are gaining weight on intermittent
yeah,
fasting. Brother, you got to go back to the basics. Look at the peer-reviewed meta-analysis studies of people who are gaining weight because of what matters, an energy surplus.
yeah,
We're technically all intermittent fasting. We go to bed at night. You're not
yeah,
eating for 8 to 10 hours.
yeah,
Tons of people gaining weight.
yeah,
So whether you pick a window that makes sense for you that allows you to adhere better to your calorie intake, that's all there is to it, man. I don't want to burst your bubble on that, but
hmm,
the only reason why people weren't gaining weight back then is because food had less calories in it. And yeah, you're right. There were no Starbucks around. There were no this around, no that. That's why this is a very complex issue. But once again, you're
yeah,
gonna lose people if you scream from the mountaintops like doctors and dietitians to go eat healthy and go be active. It's
hmm,
not the right start point. The problem is too big, no pun intended, and more complex to just throw that at people because it's
yeah,
gotten so bad that it's now impacting the global economy. Let's just be honest. And yeah, so we got to make sure we are careful about the wording and the start point. That's all I'm saying, man.
yeah, yeah. So I'm currently not prepared with examples on hand, but I can recruit some of those. And there will
Yeah.
be plenty of studies where they pit intermittent fasting versus a more traditional diet. But typically, they are imposing calorie deficits or what they think to be calorie deficits. It's pretty tough to actually get the actual number for what is a quote unquote calorie deficit. But if you were to put somebody who is intermittent fasting in a calorie surplus, they will gain weight. And if they are not gaining weight, it is because it is not a calorie surplus. It's like these are just some of like the fundamental like thermodynamics at that point. So once like we agree to those, we can like build any system you want on top of it, whether that's intermittent fasting or a more traditional diet. The big value pitch, John, I think that a lot of people see with intermittent fasting is it's a lot easier to consume less energy, less calories in a shorter window than it is a longer window. I like eating. I think most people really enjoy
Yeah.
eating. So the longer you are awake and vertical, the more likely you are to ingest or eat some sort of food. If you restrict that window via intermittent fasting, it is a great tool. So I don't, neither of us are here to bash or even like I would actually prescribe intermittent fasting to some people depending on what I learned about them in an interview or as I was taking them on as a client or something.
Yeah.
But to say that tracking is old and intermittent fasting is like the new version of that is it's not comparing the right things and yeah it's kiboshing some stuff that's very, very effective for a huge group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point, man. A lot of good
Yeah,
comments in here too.
we did get another super chat here. It's just a nice sticker or super sticker. I'm not
I've never seen that before. I
I
don't even know what a
can't see
super
the
sticker
sticker,
is.
but awesome. Should we talk about the actual topic of our episode, Ryan?
Absolutely. Let me get that pulled up again.
It is well, it's not going to be huge, I don't think, but it is 2022.
Yeah. We are in
Uh,
a new year, aren't we?
it is a brand new spanking year. Well, 10 days, I guess, but pretty darn close. 10 days late on the uptake here for us, but
Yeah.
one of yeah, the ideas or I guess one of our or the title that we came up with for this episode has to do with the new year. And I think a lot of things, a lot of the discourse you're going to see from us, especially from me, is to try to challenge a lot of the conventional wisdom. So when you think of the new year, like one of the very first things people think about is a New Year's resolution. I need to have some New Year's resolutions. That way I can get better. And I don't want to shit on people with New Year's resolutions. If you're making resolutions, that's great. Cool. All the power to you. It's just if this is the only time you're thinking about this, I would challenge you to think about it in a new way or a different way. For a lot of people, that might be monthly. For a lot of people, that might be weekly. It doesn't even like the advent or the mark of a new year doesn't really have to change the way you're going about resolving things, especially around health and fitness. It's one of the biggest industries that is a sucker to this phenomenon of the New Year's resolutions and the new year, new me type idea. Gyms are packed. There's a lot of data on this on how quick the gym membership and the gym attendance drops off from the start of a new year and as we go throughout. It is it
Yeah,
is
it's like the rug
crazy.
pulls you see.
Yeah. All of a sudden, boom, 1,000 new members to a gym one month. They're like, holy
Mhm.
smokes, we made it.
Can you
Next
imagine a
month,
chart on that?
yeah,
People
next month,
signing up for the gym and then a month later.
yeah, next month,
Mm,
rug pull all your members. It's
yeah.
so this idea of setting New Year's resolutions, I think, is a great idea. If you like having something to check in with year over year, I think that can be a really fun thing to do. Hey, what happened in this previous year with me? If you were asking like my direct opinion on it, I would suggest that if you're making a resolution, that it be pretty long term and you could look at it on a very macro basis. If you want to get better, whether it be health, like a training program or a fitness or a nutrition program, it is much better to focus in general, from what we've seen, on the process of things, not to set, oh, I want to get healthier, and then come back and look at that a year later. You want to create a plan or some sort of process. In general, systems and processes are greater or develop or elicit greater effects, greater outcomes than goals. Setting a goal and having an idea of your direction is great. Now, the really, really important underlying piece is going to be that system that you create. And for a nutrition program, that could be meal planning, that could be tracking, that could be intermittent fasting, and these different targets that you're trying to hit, whether it's day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, it doesn't really matter. The big thing I want to challenge is this idea that, holy smokes, it's a new year. Uh, I, I'm going to get healthy this year. And then you don't look at that resolution again until 2023. So I would challenge you to try and approach it in a different way and try and create a system to support that goal as opposed to just like a standalone resolution.
Yeah. Dude, I can't tell you the amount of people I'm getting already that are like getting ready. They want to sign up, right? They'll submit a form with me and they'll say, dude, I can't wait to do this. I'm going to work out 7 days a week. I'm going to crush it. And dude, the first thing when we get on the phone, I'm like, dude,
Take it
you have
easy.
kids, you
Yeah.
have a wife,
Yeah.
figure it out, make sure it makes sense. And then they'll come back like a day later, like, oh, you know what? Twice a week will work. Okay, great. We can work with that. No problem. You're actually going to stick to it. And remember, nutrition actually is 80% of this. I think that's honestly the most frustrating part to people is they don't want to believe that nutrition is 80%. So if I could start challenging any of the Hexicans in the chat to start this year off differently, open your eyes just to track a little bit, just see what the costs are price wise in some of these things. You'd be surprised. You flip over some of the price tags on some of these t-shirts or the food that you're eating and you're like, why is this t-shirt $600? Just because I can afford it doesn't mean I need to do it. So
Hmm.
it is a really eye-opening experience and gives you some information and clarity on how to make changes in the future, right? We're going to get into the nitty-gritty on some of those things with, manipulating your metabolism to create weight loss or maintain weight after you increase calories, all that good stuff. But that's going to stick with you the test of time, man. The gym is great. Just make sure you don't overcomplicate it. Do not overcomplicate this stuff, whether it be walking, etc. Especially if you're stuck wearing masks in the gym or whatever the case may be in your area. Yeah, this stuff's transitory. We could get locked down again. We all really don't know what's about to go down. The precedents have been set for a number of reasons, and the point being is you got to assume you're going to be out of the game. You're going to be injured, whatever. Like assume shit could go wrong, and know that food's always going to be the thing you have to rely on. And when you master that, everything else is Gucci. Everything else is good to go. You're going to be set. So my clients know whether they're stuck on lockdown on a couch every day of their life for the rest of their lives, it won't be ideal, but they're going to be okay. They're not going to have serious complications because of weight gain and the shift in body fat percentage that happened this last time around. So that would be the way I would challenge you guys is to get out of your comfort zone, start slow. And of course, with this stream, we're going to give you a lot of the tools that I use daily in order to do this stuff and still live a lifestyle that allows me to exist in America and eat whatever the hell I want, to be transparent, at whatever calorie count I want that makes sense. And FYI, I think it's important for them to know this. The majority of people I work with are 40 to 60 years old and they're not working out. And they're eating anywhere from 23 to 2,800 calories a day when they're done. These are not special on steroids, working out in the gym all the time people. Not at all. These are just normal people. So it's a beautiful thing. It gets very exciting. You change someone's long-term vision like Hex does with this delayed gratification and clarity and honesty. That's the same thing we're going to bring to you guys. It changes your vision and the way you view this stuff. And it makes getting started that much more clear so you can implement something that's actually sustainable versus the hot new thing, which no offense to Peloton. I don't know if y'all have been around long enough. You remember the Bowflex, it's like some of these things are starting to seem like the other, it's like the hamster wheel will go around and around and around. It's just whether or not you want to cut through the bullshit because the industry ain't here for you guys to be successful long term. They're here for you to be successful very, very short term and then be another buyer, if you will. So that's how I would challenge you going into this new year because let's be honest, culturally things change a lot. Food choices, infrastructurally things changed. Our lifestyles changed. Are we going to be accepting of that and learn how to be malleable and flexible? Or are we going to just hope that we're going to be active our whole lives? I'd prefer to have it under control. And then if my activity levels are there, great. I'm going to take advantage of it and enjoy every second of it because it's not really something that's going to be given clearly in the future, injury or otherwise. So that's my challenge to you guys going into this year.
Nice. Ryan, did you make any New Year's resolutions yourself?
Yeah, the first one was to start streaming with Discord Syndicate. No,
Oh, hell
I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
buddy.
I really had to bother a lot of you guys on Telegram. I've been in the Hex trading chat and Telegram for a hot minute, and I started like messaging some of the more common people that are in there and some of the mods, gone through and those guys, and then got into the show with you guys, which I'm really appreciative and grateful for. I really love this community. It feels like yesterday I was just like watching Kareem and all those guys in Quan King this past summer, but for New Year's resolution, man. No, honestly, I haven't really been on that wavelength in a long time. The mindset, if there's anything we're going to sell to you guys in the stream, it's a mindset. Just like you got sold, not a financial product with Hex, but a mindset that allowed you to see the financial product for what it was. Right. And that's what we're doing. So my New Year's resolution right now is to create that mindset shift in the Hex community, to see overall health and long-term health as something different than you've seen it before. I challenge you to change your perspective and go back to the basics and reevaluate what's actually going to make sense for the long term, because that's what's going to allow you to be most successful. That's my job now, right? Through these streams with exercise and some of the people we have coming on board, is to shift that mindset like Richard or any of these other amazing people in the community shifted yours at a time where you maybe had your own, preconceived misconceptions about, maybe Richard himself or the product of Hex. So that's my New Year's resolution, is to do that for 2022. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, so with these resolutions, like Ryan was saying, adherence and consistency is going to be one of the mainstays that you're going to get tired of hearing. We don't have a fancy solution. We don't have an immediate solution like the instant gratification culture that's been created. And that's, again, one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest barriers that we're going to try and tackle and try and convince you that Ryan's seen this a lot. I have had very, very few clients, but once you actually see the results, I was talking about this earlier with the hook. Once you actually see the hook of improved health or fitness, improved physique, whatever it might be, whatever your goal is, it will provide a version of a hook or a version of that gratification and hopefully keep you on that path. But if you're going to maintain it, it does need to be adherable and sustainable. So I think that's kind of
Yeah.
like the big takeaway from for me when I see people making resolutions. It's like get rich, get ripped, get or
Mm.
whatever it might be. Just
In
make
just
a
12 easy
resolution.
payments of
Yeah, yeah,
$39.99 in a Hex, we can
yeah.
show you how to get that
If
rip
you
six
take
pack.
if you take this pill every night at 10
Oh
p.m.
man.
with a glass of ice cold water and you wake up at 2 a.m. to pee, then you'll get abs.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's a good comment in there about the Hex. This show should be daily. Dude, I
Let's
like to call what these conversations all call mindset chats. I like calling them mindset chats. But yeah, so the mindset of fitness, mindset nutrition. We were kind of up in the air about a name for the show, but we hope it would just kind of come into its own as you
yeah,
guys came in here and said that either we sucked ass or hopefully we were doing okay.
yeah.
But
So yeah, this show is going to be weekly. This
yeah.
is going to be the spot that we stay in for as far as we can tell. So Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time or 6 p.m. Pacific. or 9 p.m. Eastern, wherever you are. Those are all United States area time zones. So if you're somewhere else, I can't help you out. Yeah, so I think from here we could probably spend a bit of time on questions or comments and chat
Yeah.
in
You guys got
general.
anything?
Is there anything else that you wanted to mention here, Ryan,
Um,
before we
man.
spend time doing that?
Yeah, first off, I wish I could do it daily. And then obviously, I think we all know that the Hex community is going parabolic in the best way possible. So yeah, I think there is a real possibility that this could be daily for sure. That's always been my goal, is to stream in some capacity. And I'm still waiting on Facebook to come out with their audio rooms to do something there. For some reason, they're busy dealing with metaverse if you're into that sort of thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think daily would be sick. That from a time commitment for now, unfortunately, no. But we're going to come with some really great content every week, though. So it will be absolutely quality. I can
Yeah.
assure you that it's going to be some really good stuff. Very controversial, right? Like, we're really going to be testing a lot of the things that have been really taught for a long, long time without straying away from the absolute fundamentals, right? Especially with like what Exercise was saying, with bringing in peer-reviewed meta-analysis studies showing time and time and again about things like calorie deficits mattering, understanding control groups when it comes to carb intake versus fat intake. Does it really matter as long as it's, calorie deficit? Some of these more, things we just need to like totally re-educate and just be like, here's the facts, just like Wales does with some of his topics. People come in and try to spot off. So same thing here with that. But otherwise, we're going to come up with some really unique ways that I think you guys are going to get really excited about to manipulate your food preferences, habits, still exist in your culture, still be able to go out with the wife, still be able to do these things,
Hmm.
enjoy the foods you want, but have complete control over the process. And it's kind of funny. Most people I work with end up getting they give a really good feedback. They basically say, when everything's kind of in the shitter right now with what's going on in the world, my health has been the one thing I've never been in control of. And now it is the most controlled thing that I have. And it's my rock, which is kind of a really cool transition. So I think you guys are going to start to notice that too. It may be something that's out of your control at the moment, but I can assure you, if you keep watching the stream, it will be very much so in your control in the most exciting way and sustainable way possible. So that's all I got to say before we see if we got any questions.
Yeah, man. The one thing that just that makes me think about, that kind of relates back to this like New Year's, New You type of idea. And that another one of the big mainstays that I think we're going to try and push and preach through the education and understanding like how this stuff works is the self-efficacy and the individual responsibility and ability that you have to affect and change your own life. This was, again, just like a shift in mindset that I had. I'm not sure when it was. It was probably 5 or 6 years back. Before then, honestly, I was probably making 3 New Year's resolutions that I just like kind of talk smack about. And again, I'm not trying to talk smack about New Year's resolutions, but for a long time, I didn't do them because I just had this shift that I could actually make a resolution every day and hit that and like actually make change or affect and create real change in my day-to-day life or in my knowledge or in my performance, whatever it might be. So whenever that mindset shifts for you, New Year's resolutions are great and all, but you are the one that has like this is gonna this is cheesy. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but you have the power within you. It's so self-efficacy is like when it comes back to like some of like the literature and like the data stuff, self-efficacy is such a huge proponent inside of this adherable, sustainable, like if you're changing habits or making some sort of change or at the onset of a training, a health and fitness program is self-efficacy. So if and again, that for me was just a shift in mindset. I was provided the tools has provided like an adequate brain. If you're here, you've got one. And it was a shift that just provided this change in fundamentals for me that just like shifted, I guess, the way I approach things and changed this idea of how to go about it.
Yeah. We have I would say this is a good question pull up, because the one
Yeah,
from Ruben here on the 4 shots of coffee, I wanna make at least
shots.
this clear. If there's anything
Sure.
I don't know, I will be the first to say I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I know any of the hormonal effects that it has, but I can tell you that caffeine is something that needs to be regulated, because your body will adapt to the intake quite quickly. So the 4 shots ain't hitting, then it turns into 5 shots, and the 5 shots ain't hitting. You see this a lot with pre-workout. People don't understand how much caffeine's in pre-workout. So I would recommend the following at the very least is maybe have her cycle off, not go from 4 to 0, but maybe 4 to 2, and then 2 to 1, and maybe 1 to 0. And then all of a sudden she only needs one shot to feel the exact same way. So I would say cycling of caffeine is something I've seen very, very beneficial. Um, I think in our lifestyles, caffeine probably ain't going away anytime real soon overall, but a lot of exercise pop in here too. But I won't act like I know about any of the hormonal effects though, offhand.
Sure. Coffee, number one, is great. And whenever it's one of these questions about like I'm just gonna call coffee like the substance or the supplement, and then hormone being like some sort of outcome, it almost always comes down to the dose, right? If I say X is good, there is almost I could give you almost any context that could make that statement false. So the context is hugely, hugely specific. So when you say 4 shots of coffee a day, the big question I'm going to have for you is like how much actual caffeine the person is getting. Because
Yeah.
caffeine is quite well studied, and there's a bunch of evidence to show that coffee is beneficial on certain metrics. That would be at a moderate caffeine intake, though. Um, when it comes to 4 shots, I'm going to guess so an average cup of coffee is somewhere around 80 to 100 milligrams of caffeine. If you're having four, you're probably within the upper limit. I'm not going to quote any numbers because I don't have those studies up in front of me right now, but there are pretty well defined upper limits uh, for, I think they'll probably quote males and females because of the difference in body size, but it will be based on a per pound or a per kilogram weight. So when you say 4 shots, I don't think 4 shots is a crazy amount unless it's like some sort of
Yeah, that's fair.
super strong caffeine content that I'm unaware of.
It was
But
like
if
4 Bang energy drinks.
yeah, if you're under yeah, so most energy drinks come with I think 200 or so. If you're
Bang's a little over 300.
Is
It's
Bang over
hard.
300? Wow.
Yeah.
So I think
Mhm.
if you're staying under like 400 or less, like within the day, like
Marco, fun.
I would say almost like right off the hop, there's nothing to worry about. Just based on the data, but I don't have the actual upper limits in front of me. When it comes to
Yeah, I don't
hormones,
either.
there are some hormones that it would directly or most likely directly affect. Again, the context is like the most important thing in the world here. The main one being is going to be cortisol. So
Mm.
cortisol is commonly known as the stress hormone, but it's again the context. So when you hear cortisol, lots of people associate that with bad. They'll say, "Oh, coffee increases cortisol. Cortisol is now bad." And again, I'll say it till the cows come home. The context is what matters because when you exercise, guess what goes through the roof? Cortisol. So the biggest takeaway I've had, a good like rule of thumb is if it is transitory, it's usually not necessarily, or it's less likely to be a bad thing. If you have chronic exposure to high intakes of caffeine, so like I would say greater than the upper limit for hours and like for the full day, now I think we could definitely run into some really serious like effects. But it is a highly studied substance. So I wouldn't be too worried in again unless it's like a crazy amount that I'm unaware of there. So moderate amounts of caffeine in coffee are great. uh, And yeah, I'm definitely not going to speak on whether or not hormones are being affected. In her, like they could be, but in general, it's a pretty safe supplement or
Yeah,
drug.
plus overall nutrition definitely impacts hormones as well as if she's in a deficit or surplus or just at maintenance, all that stuff too.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oof.
Okay. Let's keep looking here.
Any other questions from the gang?
Yeah. What are shots of coffee? So that is one question I would have. That's my first question for
That's a
Ruben.
good one.
It could be like espresso. So espresso's definitely got more caffeine content. That was my big question for you. Everyone do some push-ups. Yeah, okay, we could do some team push-ups.
It is now says I need to have all my onboards watch this stream. That's what's up. Appreciate that, fam.
Yeah, this is a actually extremely this is a common thing that I employ every single day is just accumulating some reps of whatever it is. So every time we stream, I'll bang out some push-ups for
Dude,
sure.
I will too. If that's the thing of the stream, you have to do push-ups every time we're on stream. And whatever
100%.
amount that me and you do, they have to do throughout the rest of the stream. So at the beginning of it is just me and you doing push-ups. That's
Yeah.
funny. Man.
Yeah. Um, okay, so what if I get lower back pain from benching? What am I doing wrong? Um, my first idea is that you have too big of an arch. Hopefully, you know what that means. If you're doing the bench, I think you should know what I mean. Basically your spine creates an arch from where your shoulder blades touch the bench up at the top to where your butt or the base of your spine touches the bench down at the bottom. If you squeeze those close together, if you watch powerlifting, lots of these guys will try to create a maximum arch in order to create a better leverage so they can lift more weight. And that's not necessarily the best way to do it. It's the way to lift most weight. That's what they're trying to do in powerlifting. So if you are getting some pinching or some pain in your lower back, one thing I would try to do just to start, and you can move back, you can progress it from here if you want, is just to put your feet up on the bench. This is oftentimes programmed if you are familiar with training programs, you might have a day of feet up bench where you're approaching the bench press as per normal, but your feet are up on the bench as you're doing the press. This is just going to round out the lower part of your back and kind of take out some of that arch, which I'm guessing is what might be causing the lower back pain. It could be something else, but
Good
if you
rule of
want to
thumb is the lower the weight. Not
also
a
if
yeah,
that can
could
also be a
help.
huge thing. You should not be in uh, I call it bad pain or like physical pain as you're going through a lift.
No bueno.
So
No.
so yeah, try the feet up and then try to work on that arch from there, if that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, hit me up with a DM or a video of your bench and I'll try to help out. Yeah,
Somebody must
with
send you
just
good
yeah, just
comments.
literally putting your feet up on on the bench that you're laying on. Just did 20. We got some push-ups going on.
The stream just turns into a bunch of dudes doing push-ups. We have lost our way. I'm just kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, we had a lot of comments.
Yeah, this was good, man. We are, what, an hour and 20 in? Let's stick around and see if we get if we missed your question. Try and
Yeah.
get it in now, guys. We'll try and do a Q&A for a couple more minutes here before we leave you.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have what is our topic for next week? Do we have one set yet? Each week you'll be able to see kind of like the I guess I'll call it the education part of the segment or the episode. We're going to have a specific topic that we kind of want to talk about, like the actual nitty gritty or the nuts and bolts about where we go and actually go through some material or some content to understand those fundamentals and then conduct it with a conversation back and forth between Ryan and I, and then, of course, field questions about that idea. And as we go through each week, kind of building up to having the education and the understanding of the fundamentals so when you're implementing this mechanism and these like the charting for your weight, that you'll really understand what's happening and be able to troubleshoot it for life as you go.
I got two good topics for the next one potentially. And they're both
Nice.
very important to keep separate. The first one is, this is going to be kind of what we tapped on very lightly today, which is just CECO, calories in versus calories out, the basics of energy balance, weight loss. And yes, we're really going to get into how you can literally eat pizza and lose weight. Because remember, it's a very separate discussion between overall health and weight loss. Can you lose weight eating nothing but Cheez-Its and drinking wine? Yes. Do we want to do that and sacrifice body composition and feel like shit? No. Right? So they're very separate. They do need to be pulled together in a way that's sustainable. So we're going to get into, I think that could be a really good topic. And then the second one, and you remember this exercise from our one video call we did together for my list of episodes was structure in casinos, why picking and choosing your time to enter a weight loss phase is incredibly important. You see a lot of people trying to get into weight loss phases, especially with New Year's. I mean, you're hopping right into it. It may not make sense, man. You got a vacation coming up in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Maybe it makes more sense to do a reverse diet, increase your calories, have a higher maintenance level so you don't gain any weight during the vacation. And now you have a built metabolism, a built bank account, right? Same thing that allows you to purchase more weight loss after. versus trying to lose weight going into the vacation, being at a low level of your metabolism, lower calorie count, and then going over by a big surplus, typically on vacation, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calories, regaining all the weight you lost, and then some, like most of the statistics out there, and being incredibly pissed off and in a bad mindset. So you likely never revisit things. That's just a quick example of how structure and understanding when to enter a weight loss phase or the casino. And yes, I have a whole list of analogies with weight loss stuff. Hopefully, you guys don't hate them too much. But the weight loss casino is a really good reference to overall weight loss and how to enter a weight loss phase and why it's important to have structure. Just like structure with the chart and what we do with hacks, structure is important with weight loss. You can't just willy nilly jump into this shit. You're going to flop around. It ain't going to be a good time. And I don't have to be mean about that. Just look at the stats. A lot of people don't know what's going on. So that's why we're here to show you what other people will never, ever, 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 ever show you, because unfortunately the casino is basically a reference for the whole weight loss industry. They want you to win a little bit, but not all the way. And the money always goes back to the house, for now at least, until you learn this stuff, and then it doesn't. You go in the casino, you get your winnings, and you get the hell out and you retain it. So I think exercise, those two could be two good episodes for next time. I think those two could be good.
Nice. I like that first one a lot. Is really setting up the basic fundament without even really talking about nutrition, without really talking about training, without really talking about exercise and physical activity. Just talking about the energy balance equation at its basic level, and how that it can apply to whether it's intermittent fasting, whether it's keto, whether it's tracking, whether it's traditional American diet, whether it's Mediterranean, whether it's friggin' bull testicles, whether it's whatever the heck it is. Before we even really get to that more nuanced part, just the underlying rule that we're kind of going to assume, right? This is one of our assumptions, I guess, that our working assumptions that we're moving from and moving on from, is this energy balance equation, and that it kind of holds true
Yeah,
overall else. It's going to govern the way that we really approach everything. It will always be a guiding factor, always. So I think that's a great place to start, is energy balance.
cool.
Calories in,
Cool,
calories
cool.
out.
Bitfinesse made a good comment. Said, I'd like to remind you, gentlemen, on screen that we're the community most incentivized to stay alive and stay healthy. You're taking on a very big and very complex task. I'll be tuning in. I'll say this, and you're absolutely right. I've been talking to people every day through text, phone calls, et cetera, and corporations for the past 7.5 years about this problem. It's grown incredibly complex, incredibly difficult. There's tons of misinformation. It's much more emotional compared to the data and numbers and finances, which is much more black and white. And yeah, that's why we're going to come at it with a very unique approach. It will hurt feelings, but we need to have an honest conversation about this in order to come up with an honest solution moving forward. So just
Yep,
know that we're here to do that.
yep. That's what the channel's for. For if you want to disagree with us, come in here and check what we're saying, check what we're doing, what we're
Of
preaching.
course, we're not perfect.
No, like Ryan said, we're going to tell you we don't know, but we
No.
will. I will be prepared to answer you. So especially during Q&A next week, I think, what was his name, Dave, the intermittent fasting question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have some studies for you. I'll send you some PubMed links, or some other links. I'll have some studies for you on intermittent fasting and weight gain, and you surely can.
Maybe we can
So
link them on the next stream that
yeah,
people had asked for in the previous one. That could be a good idea.
yes sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So in the Q&A section, if there is something that gets brought up that we're unprepared for,
Hmm.
I'm willing to go back and check it out and come talk, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk and discuss and disagree and all those things.
Sweet.
All right. We're about to hit an hour and a half. Should we hit some push-ups and send these guys on their way?
I don't think I'll do push-ups right now on stream. I don't want to embarrass myself like that. That's something that they're gonna clip and go viral right in our first stream.
Yeah.
Save it for the next one. Maybe we can film an intro of us doing some stupid push-ups or
All
something.
right. We'll prescribe some push-ups to you boys. I think a lot of you guys did it already. You guys and gals. 20 perfect, slow. Love it. And I think that's gonna wrap it up for us. I got nothing else left in my notes.
Yeah, I'm good if you are, man.
We're at an hour and 30 minutes. I think that went extremely well. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for next week. I'm super excited with who we got and the turnout. Thanks for coming. And I would encourage you to come again next week. Bring some questions, bring some discussion points, and come engage with us. We're here to talk. We're here to chat. This is, I think, this part of the show where after we move on from the little educational segment, getting into it with you guys is going to
Mm,
be kind of like the most fun of it. So I'm very, very excited for that, for what's to come.
me too, man. Thanks for having us on, guys. We really appreciate it, and I
Yeah,
hope you guys got some value out of just like we're not even getting into things yet. This is just the overview, and we'll of course talk more about that stuff too. But yeah, share it if you guys saw value in it. Let people know. You know, the more people that know this stuff, coming from the Hex community as well is a big deal. Both of us are on Twitter too, following all you guys on the usual Hex channels. So we'll be here again next week. We're really excited to do this, and we hope you liked it.
yeah. All right. Thanks again, everybody. We will catch you next week.
Peace.
Peace.